Hi guys, so I thought it was about time I did an update on my progress with IVF. So I will tell you a bit about what's happening, and most importantly I'm going to tell you about the cost. It's something that I was very interested in and didn't have any concept of starting this journey. So I think the last time I did a video I thought that we would potentially have had an embryo implanted by now. I thought that would be 10 days, but unfortunately some of my blood tests weren't ideal, so basically my estrogen level is too high, which can impact on the success of an embryo being successful or viable, whatever the terminology they use. So I've been on a medication to try and decrease that. So I went back to the doctors yesterday and he's just told me that I have to do it for a second week, and then I will be on that medication throughout the journey until basically I'm pregnant. They will just add extra medications, which I wasn't aware of at the time. That wasn't very clearly explained to me, but from what I understand, these injections I will be on up until, I don't know when really, after I'm pregnant, so we'll have to see. So at this stage I'll have more blood tests during the week, and then in 7 days I will contact him again for an appointment to see what the plan is. If my estrogen level hasn't decreased to, I think he said under 100, and mine is currently 250. So if it hasn't decreased enough, then I'll be on a different medication as well. I don't know what it is, he didn't say, to try and bring that down and help the egg implant, from what I understand. So they don't tend to give out a lot of information. I ask as many questions as I can. It's all quite overwhelming, and even being from the medical field, I kind of don't think of questions until I get home, of course. So we'll see how that goes. But hopefully in 7 days my hormones have stabilised, and then we can start the medication to stimulate egg production for egg collection. So that's the update, that's where I'm at for now. But to an important topic which I was very interested in and had no concept of, is the cost of IVF in Saudi. So being an expat in Saudi, or someone from a non-Saudi person, I am sponsored by the hospital I work at, so they pay for my insurance and health benefits. Unfortunately, IVF is considered, IVF is not covered because it's a elective procedure, which I guess I understand. So I have to go through a private hospital, and of course I don't have insurance otherwise because I haven't paid for it, so it's all out of pocket. So for Saudis, IVF is covered. They get IVF for free, but I recently found out a friend of mine, he has a teenage daughter that they conceived naturally, and he hasn't been able to have another baby since, so they applied for IVF, but because they had one baby naturally, they're not entitled to IVF. So unfortunately, to this point, he's got a 16, 17-year-old daughter, and they likely, by the looks, won't have any more babies. So I think that's a shame. I guess he could pay through a private hospital, I'm not sure how that works, but he just explained that as an expat, you're not entitled at all to IVF through the health system unless you have insurance and go to a private hospital. So the process is I basically just looked up online and to find a doctor. IVF is pretty common here for Saudis. For expats and Westerners, I have to say I don't know anybody that's gone through it. Most people are married and their husbands are in their home country, and they come back here pregnant, work while they're pregnant and go home and have the baby. From a Westerner point of view, I can't say there's anyone that I know has been pregnant, or the only people that you hear of that are pregnant here, it's accidental and then they have to go home. So consciously making a choice to have a baby and not being able to is quite out there, I think. It's not something that's discussed. It's not something that I know of anybody that's gone through this. So that's why I thought I'd give you a bit of a heads up on my journey and tell you the cost. So at this stage, when I spoke to the doctor, he said the cost, I'll be lucky if I can get out of this without being around 20,000 SAR. So 20,000 SAR is around 9,000 Australian dollars or maybe 6,500 American dollars. I don't know, I kind of just roughly estimated that, 6,000 American dollars, I'm not sure. But that basically only gets you up to being pregnant. He says that he looks after you up until 3 months, and then after that you have to get an obstetrician, gynecologist, and deliver the baby, and postnatal costs, all of that is separate. So it's 20,000 SAR to have the baby, to basically have the embryo implanted. So at this stage, like I'm very early on in the process, it's probably cost me 4,000 SAR. That's just for the medication. I have had to have a blood test to check my estrogen and luteinizing hormone level, and that was 650 SAR, which is over 200 Australian dollars. So I had to have that last week. I have to have that twice this week, and he said once this process starts, it'll be 2 or 3 times a week. So that's 1,200 SAR a week just for that. Lucky, I am lucky in the fact that I work in a hospital and I am able to get the bloods done there. So that minimises the cost slightly, but the medication, so I've just had to pay for another week of medication. That wasn't too expensive actually. I have to say I was impressed with that. It was like maybe 250 SAR for the week for 7 injections. So that's doable. 650 per blood test 2 or 3 times a week I thought would add up very quickly. And I'm not even at the stage of stimulating egg growth or collecting the eggs, or I think that will be where the cost goes up quite significantly, and it will be quite a big chunk. But at this stage, the other thing he said was that there's a VAT, so the tax or the VAT that they add to everything is 15%, so that adds quite a big chunk of 20,000 SAR on top. The benefit is, so far I think I've only paid for 1 consultation with him. Everything else has been included so far. I pay for the medications, I pay for the blood tests, I pay for any sort of script or anything that he gives me, or procedure like tests, ultrasounds, things like that. But so far, the doctor will say come back on Thursday and they fit me in, and at this stage there's been no cost for that. The other slight downside I would say is because most of his customers are walk-ins, I waited 4.5 hours last night to see him, and I think last week we waited 5. So it's definitely a lengthy process, but hopefully it will be well worth it and we will end up with a healthy baby in the near future. But I will definitely keep you updated. I will try and keep you updated with both my progress with IVF and also the actual cost, because I haven't found any information really on this. So basically it's word of mouth. So if there's someone going through this, at least you have an idea of what the actual cost is. I was told there was one girl who had a friend of a friend, and she told me it cost 9,000 SAR. So the doctors told me it's at least double that, and that's not even to deliver the baby. So I will endeavour to keep you updated and informed about the price and my journey along the way. So I'll see you later.